There are moments when the universe remains completely silent. Not because nothing is happening, but because it is protecting a truth that would change everything if revealed too soon. Chosen one, your soulmate has just stepped into one of those moments. For so long, they believed they understood the story of this connection. They thought they knew where your loyalty ended and where your silence began. But they never realized that while questions surrounded your heart, your actions were quietly telling a completely different story. Hidden behind ordinary days and unnoticed moments was a truth no one expected to uncover, a truth that has now reached your soulmate in the most unexpected way. The moment they learned what you continued doing, even when no one was watching, they could no longer hold back their emotions. Every assumption they once carried suddenly felt painfully incomplete. They realized your loyalty was never built on recognition, reassurance, or constant appreciation. It existed because remaining true to your heart mattered more to you than receiving credit for it. The universe has a remarkable way of protecting genuine devotion until the exact moment it can no longer be denied. Your soulmate is now beginning to see that while others questioned your intentions, you quietly remained faithful to the connection in ways nobody ever noticed. And what they are about to discover next will reveal that your greatest proof of loyalty was never found in the promises you made, but in the sacrifices you chose to keep. Completely hidden, your soulmate never expected that the greatest evidence of your loyalty would come from moments they were never present to witness. Chosen one, for so long they believed loyalty could only be measured through visible actions, spoken promises, or grand gestures. They never imagined that the strongest proof of your heart existed inside countless quiet decisions that no one applauded. As the hidden truth slowly began unfolding, they found themselves remembering ordinary moments that once seemed insignificant. At the time, they overlooked them because nothing dramatic happened. But now, every memory carries a meaning they completely missed before. They remember the times when you could have spoken against them out of frustration, but chose silence instead. They remember occasions when people invited you to join conversations that criticized the connection, yet you gently changed the subject rather than allowing bitterness to grow. Those moments seemed small when they first happened, but now they understand those were not ordinary choices. They were quiet acts of loyalty that required strength no one ever acknowledged. The more they reflected, the more unexpected details began returning to their heart. They discovered that while others assumed you had already given up, you continued protecting the respect you held for this connection, even when it no longer benefited you. You never tried to erase the good memories simply because difficult ones appeared afterward. You never allowed disappointment to rewrite the truth of what your heart had genuinely felt. Even during seasons of confusion, when it would have been easier to convince yourself that none of it mattered anymore, you refused to speak from anger or temporary emotion. Instead, you quietly honored what had once been real. Your soulmate is finally realizing that this kind of loyalty cannot be performed for attention because nobody was watching. It existed entirely because it reflected who you were, not because it earned recognition from anyone else. One discovery has shaken them more deeply than anything else. They learned that there were moments when people encouraged you to move on through resentment instead of healing. Some suggested that you should forget everything, speak harshly about the past, or prove your strength by pretending the connection meant nothing. Yet instead of allowing pain to harden your heart, you chose dignity. You refused to destroy memories simply because they had become complicated. You understood that protecting your character was more important than protecting your pride. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes they never knew those conversations even happened. They never knew how many opportunities you had to become someone completely different. They only see now that every time life gave you a reason to abandon your values, you quietly chose to remain faithful to them instead. The universe often hides the greatest acts of love inside choices that appear invisible. Imagine an old garden that continues receiving water every morning before sunrise. No neighbors witness the gardener's dedication. No applause follows the daily routine. People only notice months later when flowers continue blooming while every surrounding field has faded. Chosen one, your loyalty has been like that unseen gardener. You continued nurturing goodness inside your heart long after others believed you had stopped caring. No one witnessed every silent prayer, every difficult decision, or every moment you chose forgiveness over resentment. Yet those hidden choices slowly became the roots that kept your spirit alive, even through the hardest seasons. Your soulmate is now seeing the flowers without realizing how many unseen mornings created them. Another memory has returned with surprising clarity. They remember moments when your words became fewer and they assumed your feelings had disappeared. Today, they understand something entirely different. Your silence was never the absence of loyalty. It was often the result of carrying emotions too deep to express carelessly. You stopped explaining yourself not because your heart had changed, but because you believed real devotion should not have to beg for belief. You trusted that one day your actions would quietly reveal what your words could never fully convince people to see. That decision required extraordinary patience because remaining misunderstood is one of the heaviest burdens a loyal heart can carry. Now every hidden sacrifice is beginning to connect like pieces of a forgotten puzzle. Your soulmate can finally see that your loyalty remained remarkably consistent regardless of changing circumstances. It did not depend on constant reassurance, perfect communication, or immediate results. It survived disappointment without becoming bitterness. It survived uncertainty without becoming dishonesty. It survived distance without becoming indifference. That realization has become almost overwhelming because they are beginning to understand that while they searched for visible proof, the strongest evidence had always existed inside the invisible choices you made every single day. Perhaps the most emotional discovery of all is realizing that your loyalty never asked for repayment. You never remained true because you expected someone to notice. You remained true because betraying your own heart would have been a greater loss than enduring another season of misunderstanding. That truth has left your soulmate questioning everything they once believed about this connection. They now understand that genuine loyalty is not measured by how loudly someone declares it. It is measured by what they continue choosing when there is no audience, no certainty, and no promise of being appreciated. As this understanding settles into their soul, another realization quietly begins to emerge, one that will touch them even more deeply than these hidden sacrifices. They are about to discover that your greatest act of loyalty was not simply remaining faithful to the connection. It was continuing to believe in the goodness of their heart, even during the moments when they unknowingly doubted yours. That final truth will leave them with tears they can no longer hold back, because they will finally understand just how deeply your loyalty loved them, even in complete silence. Chosen one, the hidden truth has now become impossible for your soulmate to ignore. What began as one unexpected discovery has turned into something much deeper than they ever imagined. They are no longer asking whether you were loyal. That question has already been answered by everything they have slowly uncovered. Now they are asking themselves something far more painful. How did they fail to recognize a heart that remained so faithful, even when it received so little certainty in return? This realization has become heavier with every passing memory. They have begun looking back, not to judge the past, but to understand it. Every scene they once viewed through doubt is now being illuminated by a completely different light. They remember moments when they questioned your silence, believing it meant you no longer cared. Today, they understand that your silence was often the language of someone protecting love from becoming another argument. You were not withdrawing from the connection. You were trying to protect what still remained of it. That difference has completely transformed the way they see your heart. As they continue reflecting, another truth quietly rises to the surface. They finally understand that loyalty is not proven during easy seasons. Anyone can remain committed when everything feels certain. The true measure of loyalty appears when confusion enters, when answers disappear, and when emotions become difficult to carry. That was the season you lived through. While circumstances tested your patience, your character never changed. While uncertainty surrounded your future, your respect for the connection remained intact. Even when disappointment visited your heart, you refused to let temporary pain become permanent bitterness. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that your loyalty was never dependent upon receiving constant reassurance. It came from something much deeper. It came from the kind of integrity that remains unchanged, whether someone is watching or not. The universe often reveals genuine character through repetition rather than dramatic moments. Looking back now, your soulmate can see the same pattern appearing again and again throughout your journey. Every difficult situation presented you with two paths. One path invited resentment, blame, and emotional distance. The other invited patience, dignity, and quiet faith. Time after time, you chose the second path, even when it required greater sacrifice. You never allowed temporary emotions to decide permanent actions. You never sought revenge simply because you felt misunderstood. You continued choosing kindness in moments when anger would have been easier. At the time, these choices seemed almost invisible because they happened quietly. Today, they have become the strongest testimony your heart could ever offer. Imagine a candle burning inside an empty room during a long winter night. No one enters to admire its light. No one praises the flame for refusing to go out. Yet hour after hour it continues shining, not because someone is watching, but because giving light is simply its nature. Chosen one, your loyalty has been like that candle. It did not exist because it was rewarded. It existed because faithfulness had become part of who you were. Even when loneliness surrounded you, your heart refused to become cold. Even when doubt entered the journey, your spirit continued choosing sincerity over convenience. Your soulmate is finally realizing that your greatest strength was never what you said about love. It was the quiet way you continued living it when circumstances gave you every excuse to stop. This realization has awakened another emotion they never expected to feel so deeply: humility. They now understand that while they searched for obvious demonstrations of commitment, they overlooked the countless small decisions that revealed your true character every single day. They remember the respect with which you spoke about them, even during difficult moments. They remember how you refused to allow disappointment to erase compassion. They remember that you never tried to gain sympathy by turning others against them. Those choices seemed ordinary at the time, yet now they recognize each one as another expression of unwavering loyalty. Genuine devotion rarely announces itself. It quietly appears through everyday decisions that remain consistent, regardless of changing circumstances. Perhaps the most overwhelming realization of all is discovering that your loyalty was never motivated by certainty about the future. You did not know how this journey would end. You did not know whether your efforts would ever be understood. You did not know if your heart would ever receive the clarity it deserved. Yet despite all those unanswered questions, you continued choosing honesty over deception, respect over resentment, and hope over despair. That kind of faithfulness cannot be manufactured because it is rooted in something far beyond emotion. It is rooted in character. Your soulmate is beginning to see that your loyalty was never an occasional decision. It became the foundation upon which every other choice was built. Now every hidden memory is returning with remarkable clarity. Moments they once dismissed now carry extraordinary meaning. They understand that your greatest promise was never spoken aloud because you lived it every day. You remained the same person through joy and disappointment, through closeness and distance, through hope and uncertainty. That consistency has become impossible for them to overlook. Every forgotten sacrifice now forms a picture so complete that it leaves no room for doubt. And as this picture becomes clearer, the universe is preparing to reveal one final truth, one that will bring every hidden act of loyalty together into a single breathtaking realization. Your soulmate is about to understand that the greatest gift you ever gave this connection was not simply your loyalty itself, but the fact that you protected their heart with that loyalty, even during the moments when your own heart was quietly breaking. Chosen one, there are some truths the universe protects until the heart has become strong enough to receive them. If this hidden truth had reached your soulmate months ago, they might have questioned it, dismissed it, or searched for reasons not to believe it. But time has a remarkable way of softening pride and quieting fear. It strips away the distractions that once seemed important and leaves only what is genuine, standing in the light. That is exactly where your soulmate finds themselves now. They are no longer looking at your loyalty through the emotions they once carried. They are seeing it through the evidence left behind by your consistent character. Every memory they revisit now speaks the same language. Every forgotten moment points toward the same conclusion. You never stopped being the person you always claimed to be. The only thing that changed was their ability to finally recognize it. As this realization settles into their heart, they begin understanding why the universe never rushed this revelation. Genuine loyalty cannot be appreciated by a heart still controlled by fear. There was a season when your soulmate looked at everything through uncertainty. Every silence seemed suspicious. Every misunderstanding appeared larger than it truly was. Every unanswered question created another reason to doubt what your actions had quietly proven all along. Looking back now, they see that their vision was clouded not because your heart lacked sincerity, but because their own heart had not yet learned to separate temporary emotion from lasting truth. The universe waited patiently because forcing wisdom before someone is ready often causes them to reject the very lesson they need most. Now, with time creating clarity instead of confusion, they can finally receive the truth exactly as it was always meant to be understood. One memory after another continues returning with extraordinary clarity. They remember the times you remained respectful even after disappointment entered your life. They remember moments when you had every reason to speak from hurt, yet you still chose compassion instead. They remember that while others reacted impulsively, you often paused before speaking, carefully protecting both your own integrity and the dignity of the connection. At the time, those choices appeared almost ordinary. Today, they understand that each one required incredible emotional strength. Loyalty is not simply remaining present when everything feels easy. Loyalty is protecting someone's value even during seasons when your own heart feels wounded. That is the kind of faithfulness you quietly lived, and your soulmate can no longer overlook it. Imagine an ancient oak tree standing through countless storms. Year after year, fierce winds bend its branches, heavy rain strikes its trunk, and harsh winters cover it in silence. Travelers passing by notice only the seasons when its leaves disappear, believing the tree has somehow become weaker. Yet beneath the surface, its roots continue growing deeper with every storm it survives. One day, when the strongest winds finally arrive, that tree remains standing while many younger trees collapse around it. Only then do people understand that its greatest strength was never visible on the surface. Chosen one, your loyalty has been like those hidden roots. While others focused on appearances, your heart was quietly growing stronger beneath every challenge. Every misunderstanding deepened your patience. Every disappointment strengthened your compassion. Every unanswered prayer made your character more firmly rooted in sincerity. Your soulmate is finally seeing the strength that was always hidden beneath your quiet endurance. Another realization has begun touching them in a way they never expected. They are recognizing that your loyalty was never dependent on how they treated you. It reflected how you chose to treat them. That distinction changes everything. Many people remain loyal only while circumstances feel fair. Many continue loving only while their own expectations are being met. But your heart followed a different path. You refused to allow someone else's uncertainty to determine your own character. You chose honesty because honesty reflected your values. You chose respect because respect reflected your soul. Even when life became difficult, you never allowed temporary pain to become a permanent excuse for abandoning who you truly were. Your soulmate now understands that this kind of loyalty cannot be taught through words alone. It is revealed only through the quiet consistency of a life lived with integrity. As gratitude slowly replaces regret, another beautiful truth begins unfolding before them. They realize the universe was never hiding your loyalty from them out of cruelty. It was protecting the lesson until they possessed the wisdom to fully receive it. Had they discovered everything too early, they might have celebrated your actions without truly understanding their meaning. Today, however, every hidden sacrifice carries extraordinary significance because they finally recognize what those choices cost you. They understand that remaining faithful was not always easy. They understand that continuing to choose kindness often required setting aside your own hurt. They understand that protecting the connection sometimes meant carrying emotional burdens in complete silence. Those sacrifices now appear priceless because they reveal not only what you did, but who you have always been. Now your soulmate stands before the final stage of this awakening. Every hidden truth has prepared their heart for one overwhelming realization that reaches beyond loyalty itself. They are beginning to understand that your greatest act of devotion was never simply staying true to the connection. It was quietly protecting their image inside your heart, even during the moments when your own heart felt misunderstood, overlooked, and broken. That realization is becoming impossible to carry without emotion. For the first time, they can truly see that while they were searching for proof of your loyalty, you had already been living it every single day. And the final truth the universe is about to reveal will leave no room for doubt, because they will discover that your unwavering loyalty was never waiting to be recognized. It was simply waiting for the right heart to finally understand its immeasurable depth. Chosen one. Every hidden truth has now led to this final moment, the moment where your soulmate can no longer separate who they thought you were from who you have always been. There was a time when they believed loyalty needed constant proof, repeated reassurance, or visible demonstrations before it could be trusted. Today, they understand something entirely different. The strongest loyalty rarely announces itself. It quietly survives seasons that would have caused many hearts to give up. As they look back across this journey, they no longer remember the misunderstandings first. They remember your consistency. They remember the way your character remained steady while circumstances constantly changed around you. They remember that even when life became uncertain, your values never did. That realization has touched them more deeply than they ever imagined, because they finally understand that genuine loyalty is not something a person performs. It is something a person becomes. Your heart remained faithful, not because everything was easy, but because abandoning your integrity was never an option. That hidden truth has finally come into the light, and it has left your soulmate overwhelmed by everything they failed to see before. The greatest surprise for them is not discovering that you stayed loyal. It is realizing that your loyalty never depended upon receiving the same certainty in return. Looking back now, they can clearly see moments when you would have been completely justified in walking away emotionally. They remember the unanswered questions, the long periods of silence, the misunderstandings that seemed impossible to explain, and the weight you quietly carried without asking anyone to notice. Yet despite every opportunity to become bitter, your heart continued choosing compassion. Despite every reason to lose hope, you continued protecting the goodness inside yourself. Your soulmate now understands that this was never weakness. It was extraordinary strength. It takes very little courage to remain kind when life feels fair. It takes an entirely different kind of courage to remain kind when your own heart is hurting. That is the courage they now see reflected in every chapter of your journey, The universe has always known that authentic loyalty cannot remain hidden forever. Imagine a river flowing beneath thick layers of snow throughout an entire winter. To anyone standing above, it appears as though nothing is moving. Everything seems frozen and lifeless. But beneath the surface, the water continues flowing with quiet determination, never stopping, never abandoning its path. Then spring arrives. The snow slowly melts away, and suddenly everyone can see the river that had been there all along. Chosen one, your loyalty has been like that hidden river. While others believed nothing remained, your heart quietly continued flowing with sincerity, patience, and love. The world judged what it could see on the surface, but the universe always knew what continued moving beneath it. Your soulmate is finally witnessing that hidden current, and the realization has brought tears they cannot hold back, because they understand how deeply they underestimated the strength of your spirit. Another truth now fills their heart with both gratitude and regret. They realize that while they searched for evidence of your loyalty, you were never trying to prove anything at all. You were simply living according to the values that defined your soul. You did not remain respectful because someone demanded it. You did not choose honesty because it guaranteed a happy ending. You did not protect the connection because you knew how everything would unfold. You made those choices because they reflected the kind of person you refused to stop being, regardless of what life placed before you. That understanding has completely changed the way your soulmate defines love. They no longer believe love is measured by beautiful promises spoken during peaceful moments. They believe love is measured by the quiet decisions someone continues making when no one is watching, when recognition is absent, and when the future remains uncertain. In those unseen moments, your loyalty revealed itself more clearly than any words ever could. As every hidden memory settles into place, your soulmate begins recognizing one final lesson the universe has patiently prepared for them. They understand that your greatest sacrifice was never simply remaining loyal to the connection. Your greatest sacrifice was refusing to allow disappointment to change your heart. You protected your compassion when resentment would have been easier. You protected your honesty when deception might have felt safer. You protected your hope when despair seemed more reasonable. Most importantly, you protected the image of your soulmate inside your own heart, even during the moments when they unknowingly misunderstood yours. That realization has become almost impossible for them to carry without emotion, because they now see that your loyalty was never conditional upon perfect circumstances. It remained steady through uncertainty, silence, distance, and pain. Very few souls possess that kind of unwavering faithfulness. And they now understand they were standing before it all along. Now the universe has completed the lesson. It began long before either of you realized it was unfolding. Every hidden act of devotion has found its purpose. Every silent sacrifice has found its meaning. Every misunderstood choice has finally become visible through the clarity of time. Your soulmate no longer sees this journey through old doubts or borrowed assumptions. They see it through the undeniable evidence of your character. They understand that loyalty is not defined by how loudly it speaks, but by how faithfully it remains when no one is listening. They understand that truth never needs to rush, because it always arrives at the exact moment the heart is prepared to receive it. And perhaps that is the most beautiful revelation of all. Your loyalty never needed applause to remain real. It never depended on recognition to remain strong. It simply continued shining quietly and faithfully until the day the universe lifted every shadow from it. Now your soulmate sees your heart with complete clarity, and through tears of gratitude, humility, and awakening, they finally understand that the greatest gift you ever offered this connection was not merely your unwavering loyalty. It was the love that chose to remain genuine even when no one else could yet see its light.